Welcome to the Brains Are Us podcast, brought to you by Centerpoint Research Institute. Each week we explore the tools, insights, and breakthroughs that help you unlock your full potential. Whether it's mind-expanding research, powerful personal development strategies, or transformative stories, you're in the right place to upgrade your brain and your life. Today's episode features relationship coach, speaker, and author of the new book, Cracking the Man Code, Mat Boggs. Join MaryEllen and Matt as they dive into the brain science of attraction, how masculine and feminine energy create the polarity that sparks real chemistry, why so many smart, successful women unknowingly turn attraction off, and how understanding a man's deepest desire and his greatest fear can transform the way you communicate. Along the way, Matt shares why doing less created more connection for a former military commander, the 3 magic words that diffuse an argument before it starts, and the simple appreciation practice that restored respect and reignited connection for a couple who had barely spoken in months. Whether you're navigating today's dating world or decades into marriage, this is an eye-opening, refreshingly practical conversation you won't want to miss. Now here's your host, Centerpoint CEO, MaryEllen Tribby.
Welcome, Matt. How are you?
I'm doing great. MaryEllen, it's great to see you. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's my pleasure. This is going to be so interesting to so many, not just women, but men as well today. I love what we're going to talk about today because, I'm going to be married 30 years in October, 30 years. And things are so different today than they were 30 years ago as far as meeting someone special, right? And having a daughter who now is 27 and kind of that achiever, she's an attorney in New York. I think this is going to, the range of people that this is going to help today is tremendous. So I'm going to dig right in. Is that okay?
I love it. Yeah.
All
Let's
right.
go.
All right. So let's start with a really tough question, which is you say most women aren't doing dating wrong. They're just unknowingly turning attraction off. What's the biggest polarity mistake you see smart, successful women make?
Well, you bring up a great point at the top of this interview in that today, when trying to even find a partner, we have more options than we've ever had, more dating platforms than we've ever had, more scammers on those dating platforms, more mistrust, more perception of choice. And it is creating a real challenge to finding the person that we want to, for those who want a committed relationship, it can be really challenging. And so while there is so much change, one of the areas of success and success practice that I really believe in is, while lots of people want to talk about everything that's changing, I think what's really valuable is to look at, well, what never changes? And make sure that we have a great understanding and foundation of that, because that is getting lost and diffused and getting watered down, where people are so focused on other things that they've lost. Oh, how are we actually generating attraction in this connection? And sometimes it's just a fact, an effect of not even being aware that there is this dynamic called polarity. And it's science, it's physics. Like the same thing that allows a battery to work is that it has a positive pole and a negative pole that allows the flow of electrons to move between us. The same reason why when we feel somebody, we're like, man, there was just that spark, there was this chemistry, there was electricity, is there is a flow of energy happening between us as human beings. And what creates and amplifies that flow is polarity. Well, what is polarity anchored in? What's the positive and negative poles of polarity in relationships? And it's masculine and feminine energy. Now, before people go all up in arms, I don't believe in that, or I don't. Most people have a very either outdated view of what masculine and feminine is, or their perception is what I call toxic masculine or toxic feminine energy. And so I think it's important to realize we all have masculine and feminine. I've got feminine energy and masculine. You've got both. Every human being, we're born with both. And it's a spectrum. And you can dial it up or dial it back, whatever energy you want. And so, but knowing what those are and knowing that it's not just energy, but it translates to biochemistry. So in other words, most men are exhibiting more masculine energy, which ignites a whole series of biochemicals. And what that does is when our bodies are bathing in these biochemicals, and Joe Dispenza talks a lot about this, that your cells go into this homeostasis environment where they get used to receiving a certain amount of chemical. So when they don't receive that biochemical, they begin to crave more of it. So one of those for men, if you think about the masculine and the roles that we had for tens of thousands of years, right?
Yeah.
The masculine was very much the provider and the protector. The man's job, hunter-gatherer days, right? And so these are great models just to help us understand and have compassion for, well, where does this come from? And why is this being expressed in our differences today? And so knowing that one of the great biochemicals that masculine energy loves is dopamine.
Yeah.
We all love dopamine. All human beings, we love it. We crave it. This is why we all get addicted to social media. But the masculine really loves it. This is why boys more than girls get addicted to video games.
Yeah.
Because why? It's all about accomplishing the goal. It's all about mission focused, right? So masculine energy loves competition, loves accomplishing a goal, being on a mission, doing things more efficiently. If you can take a shortcut, cut across the parking lot, get to your spot faster, the masculine loves that, right? There's all kinds of examples of this. This is why masculine men love practicality. That gives you this dopamine hit. Like, this is why more men will look at pants that unzip at the knees and turn those pants into shorts. And
Right.
Right. I love that. Man, you've got the paracord watch that's got the fishing wire and the compass and turns into a tent. Right. We love that stuff. Why? Because very practical, very efficient, helps us accomplish goals, right? So that's driving us. Well, the challenge is that the workspace is very masculine. The workspace is very much about competition and achieving goals. And so for so many women, I've coached thousands of women who are professionals that are high achievers, and they're wanting to attract a high achieving professional masculine man, but they haven't learned how to shift into their feminine energy.
And that's what I want to go into, because first, Matt, I think it's important for women watching this to know it's okay to have masculine energy as a woman. I do. I'm a very competitive person. I love sports. And that's my whole family is. My two daughters are, as my son and my husband. But I think that the tricky part for women is then, what do women get wrong about feminine energy?
Right. And so the first thing that they get wrong is an outdated view of what it is. And so they discard it and they say, I'm not going to be feminine. Screw that. Because they think femininity is all about being passive and weak or submissive or not leading. They're like, well, I can't be proactive or lead if I'm going to be a feminine. 100% not true. You're just leading in a different way. You're leading in a way that actually evokes and ignites his masculine energy. And so here's what I love is to take these bigger ideas and make them really practical. So saying, well, how do you amplify your feminine energy? If you want to, because it's about having both. So in your work, you may get results. Like, what are the results that you want? If you're getting the results you want, don't change anything. If you're not, be open to a new strategy. So if you've got a lot of masculine energy and it's working for you in work, but not in love, consider shifting the approach that you're bringing to love. Because not every approach is going to work, right? You're not going to take the same amount of aggressiveness in one sport and it's going to work in another sport. You've got different strategies that are more effective depending on what sport you're playing. Right. So if we're going to go to the relationship area, let's talk about the number one thing that you can do is to create a invitation for your man to either provide or protect something that you want. And so what that means is you can lead the way, but you're saying, would you be willing to provide this for me? Yeah. Even in the beginning, And it's the same side, like masculine and feminine energy in terms of being proactive is literally, it's the same coin, just two opposite sides.
Yeah.
So let's say you're online and you're dating, and the masculine energy says, hey, I'm really connecting in these emails going back and forth. Give me your phone number. I'd love to call you sometime so we can connect. That's masculine. I would love to call you. Please give me your phone number. The feminine is, hey, I'm really feeling like I'm enjoying this connection with you. I would love to talk to you on the phone. Would you be willing to call me sometime? So it's very subtle, but if you just think about it on the opposite side of the coin, masculine says, let's do this. Feminine says, I want to do this. Would you be willing to create it for me?
Yeah.
And what that's called is joyful receptivity, and it is a game changer.
It is subtle, but it's inviting, and it's really leading, actually, too, right? I mean, it's really intentional. It's beautiful. I love that.
And why does it work so well?
Yeah.
Because you're understanding, well, what ignites masculine energy? Masculine love a goal. They love a goal. They love a mission. They love to accomplish and provide you something you want. And so when you're saying, hey, I would love this, would you be willing to do this for me? Now you're actually giving him a goal. You're giving him a mission. You're telling him how to please you. And you're doing one more thing that most people miss. Yeah. And that is the masculine's deepest subconscious desire is to be seen as capable.
Yes. He's
competent.
Yes.
That we want to know you believe in us to be able to do the job. And so when you make a request saying, hey, would you be willing to do this for me? It subconsciously communicates, I believe you can. Otherwise, I wouldn't even be asking.
I love when brain science and love come together, right? That is so cool. I know you have so many stories about people, women that you've coached. And I also know you have a story about Tanya, who was in a very masculine profession, a former military commander.
Mm-hmm.
So why was doing more actually sabotaging her life?
So we get in a trap when we are very generous, loving, compassionate people. We will often make the mistake that says, hey, if I give more in this relationship, that will add more value, add more love, and bring us closer together. And so Tanya was this super effective human being and came out of the military, highly successful and highly competent at everything that she did. And so when there was a guy, she would feel like there was a gap in his willingness to step up or commit. She was like, well, if I just show him how much I like him, and if I do these things for him, she was basically filling the gap, investing in the relationship to bring him along. But ultimately it had the sabotage effect. Why? Because what was it subconsciously communicating to masculine energy? Hey, I don't believe you can do this, so I'm going to do it for you. The masculine does not get ignited. We do not get a dopamine rush by receiving a gift. The biggest gift you can actually give your man is the opportunity to give something to you. It's interesting. Like crazy. The biggest gift you can give him is the opportunity to serve you, because the masculine needs to be necessary. We need to be needed. We need to have all of these things. So these highly competent, amazing women are like, I don't need anything. I don't. Well, that's fine. But your man's got to feel needed by you. He's got to feel that way. Otherwise, and he's got to feel necessary. So giving him a chance to serve you. So the cool part is, it's actually way easier than over functioning and over delivering and over investing. So Tanya learned how to just ask for what she wanted.
So she made that shift for her needs, but what did she have to do?
So she had to retrain her mind to do two things. Number one is to think that showing love wasn't actually doing the thing for him. Showing love and where he received the real gift was when she was willing to receive from him. Which is, there's a deeper paradigm here, way more psychological, that sometimes we grow up feeling like there's a part of us that doesn't feel worthy unless we feel like we're earning love.
Mm-hmm.
And it's those of us who have been trained to be perfectionists, those of us who were trained that you got celebrated when you were the starter on the team, or you made the game-winning shot, or you were the producer, like when you got straight A's, that's when you got celebrated. We will carry that into relationships and feel like I've got to earn love. So she had to make this switch into saying that no, she deserves love just as she is. She doesn't have to earn love, and that she can actually sit back and receive the love, and knowing that she's giving him a gift by making the requests that she would love and feeling worthy of that.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is this, because then evokes the fear. Well, what if he doesn't step up? What if I chase him away?
Right.
Because I'm asking for what I want. What if he sees me as needy or incompetent or any of that stuff? And so helping her hone the deeper belief that number one, it is really hard to screw up the right thing. You cannot scare off a man who wants a relationship by asking him if he wants a relationship. You cannot scare off a man by who is interested in you by letting him know that you're interested in him. Like it's like what you're going to do is you're going to scare off the wrong guy. So you've got to be willing to scare off the wrong guy faster to attract the right guy faster. Number one.
Yes.
And so for her to get grounded and release the fear of that, come from a source of love and then say, hey, I would love this. Would you be willing to plan this hike for us? I would love to go on a hike this weekend. Would you plan one for us? And so she made that switch and the guy would step up. And it was so funny because in my book, Cracking the Man Code, I've had so many women who've been married for decades get this book also and say, Matt, you describe like there's things that you say to do and say in here. And you describe how the man's going to respond. And like one client was like, dude, I totally did that line. And he responded exactly the way you said he would. It's like when you ask us to do a mission for you, like our eyes will get big, our shoulders will go back, and we're like, I will provide this for you. Like, yes, I will. And we go into mission mode.
And I think so many women would actually love that and would do it if they knew it, right? If they knew it. That's why this is so important. You know, at Centerpoint, where we always talk about everything is energy, right? Like everything is energy. So you said attraction isn't just about looks. It's more about energy.
Yes.
What actually makes a woman irresistible to a masculine man?
So understanding that feminine energy and what we talk about everything energy, what does that energy look like? How is it expressed? What are you doing when you're way more in your feminine? So some easy concepts are masculine is about providing. Feminine is about receiving. Masculine is about pursuing. Feminine is about pulling, or instead of being the chaser, being the one who's pulling the energy towards you.
Can you say welcoming? Can you use that
welcoming,
term?
inviting. So example, great women who are great in their feminine, they will always make the first move.
Yeah.
But what it is a look, is sending a big green signal to the guy. She looks at him, she even can wave him over. She like signals him and then he pursues. He crosses the room to come and talk to you. Or your feminine invites for the phone call or whatever it is, however you're dating. The feminine is also, and here's what's key, present. And the feminine is also in her body, where the masculine energy rides up here in the cognitive forehead region and is often vision driven, goal centered. So if you want to shift into your feminine energy, one of the great ways to do this is to move your awareness down into your heart space and then down into your body. And then ask the question, what is it that I need most right now to feel even more fulfilled or alive? And just let your body wisdom actually send you a signal, give you some wisdom, give you some guidance. What is it? Tune into your heart. Say, what is it that I need most right now? And it might be a walk. It might be connection. It might be water. It might be whatever it is. But it might be compassion. It might be to slow down and to take space. It might be to let go of that project that you've been working on that you don't need to do anymore. But really tuning into your body and your heart space. The masculine loves that energy.
Well, then let's go right into this, because you say this in your book. You talk about a man's deepest desire, right? So what is it? And why do so many women unknowingly just miss it?
Yes, or sabotage it. So the masculine's deepest desire is to have their thoughts respected. Why? Because when your thoughts are respected, now every one of us wants to have respect. That's without a doubt. And we're talking about nuances here, like what really the masculine will, like, ladies, you got a man who is pursuing you and you don't want him to pursue you. You got a man who's asking you out and won't take no for an answer. Use respect and he will 100% back off. You can say, hey, I'm not feeling the romantic chemistry. I've said no, and I'm asking that you respect my wishes. A guy will, you use the word respect, and it's a trigger point for masculine energy.
Wow.
So, and why is it? It's because it's our thoughts that determined whether or not we could provide or protect. It was, did we go west or east to get the food? Is we're going to fish in the morning or late at night? It's the decisions that we're making that were hardwired into how capable we were as a man and doing our job. And so when one of the unknowingly things, this is one of the approaches that women will take with other women because it's effective, and they bring it in their relationships with men and it backfires. And that is to criticize to get what you want. And often what will happen is it's not just a criticism, but it's and it's an exaggerated or globalized criticism because we feel the need to justify our position to then get him to change or get what we want. Like, and so, but what ends up happening is men don't change their behavior with criticism. All they feel like is they're failing you and they're not doing a good job. So most men, what they will instantly do is get defensive. And they'll point out the one or two times they did do the thing and why you're wrong and you shouldn't feel that way. Because what are they actually doing? They're trying to defend that they are capable enough for you so you won't leave them.
Yeah.
That's what's going on underneath defensiveness. And so instead of criticism is you're wrong, I'm right, you got to do it my way, you're not measuring up. Instead, challenge your man. Move from criticism to celebration and challenge. And here's the thing is, let's say he hasn't taken you out in a while and you're wanting more connection. You're wanting more date nights. Instead of saying, you never take me out anymore, or we don't go out anymore, or I'm not feeling as connected to you. Instead of saying that, say, hey, when you took me out on that date 5 years ago, no, I'm joking.
Not that part. Doing well.
Yeah. When you took me out on that date and we went to this particular restaurant, I just want you to know how much I loved it. And I love spending time with you. There is nobody that makes me feel the way I feel when I'm with you. Would you be willing to plan another date for us? So pick a time he did a great job and then celebrate it and then challenge him to do more of that. And you will get a 10x return out of the effort of your man. You'll see him rise up. And you can even play with this and be cheeky with it and funny with it. And you can say, hey, honey, would you be my hero? You ask that question, and I know it's funny, but it's playing to his masculine energy. And he'll be like, what do you need? Could you take this garbage out for me? It would really mean a lot. Yeah, absolutely. Like he'll jump in these things when framed from a position of like, hey, can you please pull your weight around here? Like I'm cleaning up all these dishes and whatnot, and you're just sitting there watching the game. Like that effect versus the other one, you'll get a way better outcome.
Absolutely. And even though it seems harmless by saying you're just watching the game or whatever, I mean, I guess, it could trigger almost shameful events from their past. And so you have so many things that come up, and it's so simple just to flip it now that you've said it. It's brilliant.
I'll give you an example of a woman I wrote about in Cracking the Man Code. One of my clients, she was super smart, Stanford professor, and she was dating guys. And what she thought, one of the things that the feminine loves, we've talked about masculine, right? Yeah. Accomplishing goals, being efficient, productivity. Well, feminine energy, while we all have all these biochemicals, feminine energy loves the home base. The cells crave for oxytocin. The cells crave for connection. Like men get together to do things. women do things so they can get together and talk and connect. And so it's connection, collaboration, cooperation. And you're all trying to help each other. And so we'll bring that into dating. Well, it can be unconsciously subversive to what you're trying to create. Here's this woman's story where she would date and she would be helpful. She thought it was helpful, but the men were experiencing it as micromanaging. Like they'd be going to the movies and she's like, hey, the exit's coming up real here in a mile. Why don't you get over into the right lane? And so he'd like get over into the right lane. And then as they go into the parking lot, she's like, hey, there's a spot right up front by the restaurant. Why don't you grab that one? She's just being helpful. But what is he hearing it? He hears it as, you don't trust me to get it to the freaking restaurant without you telling me everything to do. One of the most important things you can do is signal that you trust him to provide the experience that you want. And so she flipped this script and ended up just sitting back. And it's tough because, so many of us, when we're used to leading or controlling, we've got to release control. Release control. But here's the irony that after teaching and coaching this for decades, and you can tell me if you resonate with this, MaryEllen, is the greatest leaders do this. The greatest leaders, business leaders, don't micromanage.
No.
The greatest leaders share, here's the vision that I would love. I believe in you as a team to go do it. Go create this result. And then they step back and they inspect along the way, but they're not micromanaging, right? And so that's what feminine energy is. It's like, hey, would you take me to this beautiful romantic dinner?
Yes.
I know you got this. And then step back, let him lead, let him provide, and just enjoy the results that he's providing for you.
This episode of Brains R Us is brought to you by Total Trauma Relief, a suite of HoloSync meditation soundtracks and personalized coaching designed to help you release repressed trauma, soothe the brain's red alert mode, and promote emotional healing. Visit myholosync.com/brains27 to learn more.
This is so good for everybody, but imagine the woman who's a single mother for most of her life and is raising those kids on their own and making the money and doing everything. That's why this is so good, because I'm sure it's harder for someone like that to flip that switch.
Well, it takes practice for any one of us. It's practice. I've coached lots of single moms who are business owners. And what's cool is when you get a few of these practices down, you'll start experimenting with them and you see what result you get. And all it takes is a few times of getting a great result before it locks in and you're like, oh, this is awesome. And this is way easier. I'm going to do this.
Right. That's so good. Now, what about you? Because I know you revealed this, that a man's greatest fear. Why does understanding that change everything about how a woman can communicate when you know that biggest fear?
Because it gives you X-ray vision and it helps us be compassionate. And so here's the greatest fear. It's like a superpower. The greatest fear for a man is inadequacy. And we've talked about this, right? Not being able to provide or protect what it is that you want. So here's what ends up happening. Putting on the belief that every act, no matter how skilled or unskilled, no matter what it is either an expression of love or a call for love. Meaning it's either love or fear. And so when you come to your man and you don't get the response that you want, maybe he gets defensive or takes it personal and he starts counterattacking, counter-criticizing, or defending why he's right and you're wrong. You can, if you really understand this, not just in like, hey, I read it once in a book, but if you actually like embody this, it's like having X-ray goggles. You allow yourself not to get triggered and you can see to the deeper layers of what's happening, where you can say, oh, he's defending this moment or himself because he doesn't want to lose me. So this is a call for love. Like he wants to feel capable. He wants to feel enough. Like he doesn't want to lose me. So he's saying, I do it right. And I'm da, 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 da. And so you can actually then help calm the fear so that you can get to the point of really, which is a change in behavior or an outcome that you would love.
Yeah.
Right. And
I mean, we've talked about this at Centerpoint, Matt, where there's a real difference between reacting and responding.
Right.
And, everything we're talking about today is really responding. And, and it kind of goes back to what you said in the beginning, which in order to have that responsive kind of mode as opposed to reactive, it comes down to respect, right? So with your partner or with any person. So that I love that.
Yes. And Skill says, let me give a very practical tool that everyone can take away around how do you respond versus react when you feel triggered.
Yeah.
And so this was a while back, my wife and I were brushing our teeth. So this is for anyone where you get triggered in a relationship. And she says, you know what? I'm not feeling close to you. And it was out of the blue. It was like kind of a non sequitur from what we were talking about. And it felt like there were bombs going off all around me because my masculine brain translated that into, I don't know if I love you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I want to be in this relationship anymore. And I was like, and I immediately felt every ounce of me want to justify why we were still close. What do you mean you don't feel close to me? What about this? What about that? What about this? What about these date nights? What about these vacations that we just got back from? What about all of these things? And so there's a few magic phrases that when you're feeling triggered, you can use that help you respond versus react. So the first one is to notice what you're noticing and notice when you're going into that fight or flight trigger, knowing that your brain, literally the blood drains out of your prefrontal cortex. You cannot think logically anymore. And you need to get that area of your brain back online, and it takes a minute. So say these words, say, tell me more. What's brilliant about that line is that that's what the feminine really wants and needs in those moments is validation and to feel fully received and heard. And so I said, well, tell me more. And as she's telling me more and she's describing, hey, well, we're not going on date nights and whatnot. Then if you understand as guys, we understand how we're wired up, that we want a mission. Then the next question to follow that up with isn't defensiveness and isn't jockeying for the position of being right, but is to ask another question is, well, what would it look like if we were?
Yeah.
Often if you're, one of the ways that the female brain is wired up and the feminine brain, not even female, but feminine brain, because men who are very feminine will have this as well. And the masculine brain, and we can talk about these differences, is the ways that we communicate when we're feeling stressed or charged or overwhelmed about something.
Yeah.
And so one of the ways the feminine wants to solve is by just venting and communicating. And so if that's your style, know that it's really not even, you're not looking for, like, you want to be fully seen before and heard before you can even move on to solutions.
Right.
So that's why the tell me more is so great. And then I said, well, what would it look like if this was solved? Like, let me fully hear what it is that you're saying. And the irony was, she was like, yeah, well, I really have been craving some day dates with you. We do these night dates, but when it comes to like adventures and stuff, we're always with the kids. And I want to be with you. Like, let's go paddle boarding or let's go hiking or something during the day, just you and me. And the irony was what I had originally interpreted as, I don't know if I love you anymore. I don't want to be in this relationship. Wasn't that at all. It was her wanting to go paddleboarding or her wanting to go on this hike. And so my whole nervous system could calm down. And I was like, well, would you like me to plan something for us on that? Or what would really serve you? And she was like, oh, I would love that. Yeah, plan. I was like, okay, girl, I got this. We'll plan something. And it was able to diffuse what would have inevitably been a 30-minute argument around why we were close and her not feeling seen. And if I had misinterpreted her need to vent and not having the tools of saying, tell me more, what would it look like if?
Oh man, Matt, because people always say to me, 30 years, you guys must be, it must be great. And, and of course there are things. And how long have you've been married, Matt?
I'm half you. We're on our way. I'm 15 years in.
So, when you have kids and you have, someone's working a high precious or a high level job, there are tension. These are wonderful strategies for everybody, regardless where you are. If you're dating or if you've been married for 50 years, it doesn't matter. This works for any stage. It sounds like, right? Like it just doesn't matter.
Well, it totally does. And so for the masculine minded person to understand that the feminine, often what they want is just to vent. And so one of the challenges is we love, when you think about communication dynamics, what we love is to accomplish a goal. Well, what's the goal of a conversation to the masculine? The goal is two things: get to the point and solve the problem. What's the goal of the feminine? Connection, collaboration, right? So for the feminine, the more words, the better. The longer the conversation, better. The more details to the story, the better. And you'll notice if you're with a really masculine individual, that their eyes will glaze over. Sometimes it's the guy who wants to tell the big story and the woman's eyes are glazing over. It doesn't really matter who it is, but the point is that if you're with somebody who's very masculine, what you can do, and this is a ninja move, if you're wanting more connection, wanting more conversation, you can say, hey, I'm really feeling the need. And so one of the challenges, let me back up one step. One of the challenges of the masculine is the moment our partner brings us a problem that they're facing, our initial instinct is to solve it. Get to the point, solve the problem. Boom, we get the boost of dopamine, but they don't get the boost of oxytocin because they don't feel connected. So for us as guys to know that, one question we can ask in the conversation is, are you wanting to just vent right now and wanting compassion, or are you wanting a thought partner to help you solve this? What hat do I wear right now? Help me help you. And so it's a great, and so my wife and I, she'll say, I just want to vent. Or she'll say, no, I'm actually looking for a solution. I'm like, okay, so I know how to meet her where she is.
Yeah.
On the feminine side, if he doesn't ask the question, you say, you know how you can make me feel so loved and supported right now is just hear me out. I'm not looking for any solutions. I just want you to empathize with me on how horrible this is right now. And so, and it's amazing. And I know this stuff, and yet I still screw it up because I'll get locked into my masculine energy. My wife was pregnant with our second child, and we were same scene. We were in the bathroom getting ready for bed, and I look over and she's got tears streaming down her face. And I'm like, what's going on? And she shows me her phone, and it's a photo of her friends all out to dinner on Instagram. And she's like, they didn't even invite me, and they don't invite me anymore, and this and this and this. And now instantly I know that they want her to go, but the reason they didn't invite her is because the last 12 times that they had invited her, she said no. They invited her like 5 times a month, like every week they're trying to get her to go out. And so in my infinite wisdom, I tell her, I said, well, if you want them to invite you more, you got to start saying yes. You've told them no the last 12 times.
Right.
It was the wrong thing to say.
Yes.
She did not care for that at all. And I went, and then after she was like, I was like, wow, that didn't help at all. Oh, reminding myself, okay, she's just looking for compassion. And I was like, you know what? That does suck when you feel left out. It does suck that you're pregnant and you don't even feel up for going, but there's a part of you that wants to, and a part of you that just wants to stay home. And I'm sorry that you're going through this right now. Like having those kinds of words is so valuable.
But it's so funny, Matt, because you can even take that into parenting mode when you're dealing with a daughter and you're dealing with a son, and they have the same issue or the same problem. I don't know if they were both if they were left out, right? I guess the answers to them both would be slightly different of how to handle them.
Well, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. So asking what hat do you want me to wear right now?
Yeah.
Is a brilliant way. We talked about respond versus react. That helps us respond in a way that is most loving. So because we're wired up differently, right? It's not better or worse. It's just different. That the idea is, we've all been taught growing up the golden rule: treat others how you want to be treated.
Right. I
actually subscribe to what other colleagues of mine have coined the platinum rule, which is treat others how they want to be treated. Meaning I might want a solution in this moment. They might want compassion. What are they looking for in this moment?
Yeah.
How do I speak their love language, so to speak?
Yeah, I love that. That's wonderful. So let's get back to kind of meeting that special someone. And if someone wants to stay true to their standards, but, that's a very, kind of, this is what I want statement. But how do women hold standards without pushing like a really good guy away?
So one of the keys is when a man feels special, about himself in your presence, you automatically become special to him. So one of the sexiest things that we can have in a relationship is standards, because remember how he's wired up.
Yeah.
He wants to achieve a goal and he wants to outcompete all the other guys. So if you aren't communicating ultimately what it is that you want, what your vision is for what you would love to create, then he doesn't get any opportunity to feel special, accomplish a goal, deliver you happiness, create what it is that you want. You're just going along with whatever he wants, and that doesn't feel special at all.
Right.
And so it takes guts, but the guts really come from the belief that it's hard to screw up the right thing, and that your person is going to recognize you and be willing to invest in that connection. And so like my wife, not everyone's going to hold this standard, but whatever your standard is for like kissing, whatever your standard is for having sex, whatever your standard is for spending the night, whatever your standard is for being exclusive, right? What does the commitment level and the emotional commitment need to be so that you can enjoy whatever it is that's on that level of standard? So for example, my wife had a standard for herself that she didn't kiss on the first date. Well, that was very unusual for me when we started dating, because most people I was dating was like, yeah, it's no big deal. Like if you feel the chemistry, kiss. Let's figure it out. Let's figure it out if we have physical chemistry. So we're on our first date and we're walking along this pier in Huntington Beach, and I ask her, I'm like, hey, can I kiss you? And she's like, I don't kiss on the first date. And I'm like, okay. She's like, I'm only kissing someone that I feel like we want to continue dating. And right now we're just getting to know each other. So we're off to a good start, but we'll find out how many dates we want to have. And when I feel really comfortable, then I will kiss. And so she let me give her a kiss on the cheek. And, but instantly I was like, okay, so, well, now I know she's not just kissing everybody.
Yeah.
So when I get a kiss, it's going to be special. And the weird thing is, it wasn't even a conscious thought. It was subconscious, because finally, when we did kiss, it was like, a few days later, it felt like I had accomplished helping her feel safe, helping her feel comfortable, helping her know, and I know that we want to continue dating each other. It was this great, number one, the kiss was amazing. The chemistry was amazing, but there were all these other benefits that helped fuel it that were intangibles that I had not yet experienced before.
Oh, I cannot wait to get my daughter a copy of this book. Seriously, I cannot wait, Matt. I'm sure everyone is thinking that right now. I want to jump a little bit because of time, but you introduced what you call the ultimate connection guide. What does a man's heart truly long for, but rarely knows how to ask for?
Yeah. So this is because we're wired and fired right here for feeling capable and competent. The deep need is acceptance. And really, this is a human need, is to feel accepted for who we really are. Well, you can't give to somebody else what you don't have inside yourself to give. And so learning how to love and accept ourselves for who we are is the key. That when you do that, two amazing things happen. Number one is, because everything is energy, you're sending a signal of love and acceptance. So he knows, because you love yourself and accept yourself for who you really are, you'll be able to love him, flaws and all. Because we all know that we're not perfect. We all know that we got unlovable parts of ourselves, so to speak. So he begins to relax and feel way more confident and capable in your presence. But here's the second thing that happens. When we start with this sense of self-love, the doorway, I often say it this way, we all have visions of the kind of love that we want to experience in our life, especially if we're dating and we're dreaming up that partner. And the bigger the vision of love is, imagine the size of that vision. Well, you have a doorway on your heart. And the doorway to your heart is either open or closed. And what determines whether it's open or closed is how much love you have for yourself and how safe you feel in the world of relationships. The safer you feel and the more love you have for yourself, the wider the door. So you have to have the door wide enough to match the size of vision for love that you want. Otherwise, it won't get through. Where most people stay stuck is they've got this big vision for love and the doorway cracked.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, you got to try to fit through here, thinking that it's his job to make her feel safe. It's his job to make her feel whole, or it's her job to make him feel safe and whole. That's an inside job. We got to do it for ourselves. And so having compassion, the fastest way to do this is asking yourself on a daily basis, multiple times a day, what in me needs my love and acceptance right now? And that when you make a mistake, you give yourself forgiveness and compassion, and that you're soft on yourself.
Yes.
And the irony, especially for high performers, is that actually leads to greater performance.
Yes.
Versus beating ourselves up or berating ourselves or ridiculing ourselves, which actually recreates the very behavior that we're ridiculing ourselves for, because that's how the subconscious mind is wired up, to do more of where you give it the biggest volume of attention.
Absolutely. That is great. Now, I'm sure a lot of women want to know how to deepen that emotional intimacy without like interrogating their partner or over processing, which I know a lot of people do, men and women, but a lot of my friends do. Or just doing all the heavy lifting for both parties.
Mm-hmm. So how to create that emotional connection in a
That
greater way?
intimacy, though, but without really like just being, at them all the time.
Well, let's talk about what erodes intimacy. Let's
Mhm.
talk about what erodes the connection. And this is one where so many people feel stuck. And so this is going to be for those of us in committed relationships. What is a man's greatest desire and need is to have his thoughts respected. So respect is one of his greatest needs.
Yeah.
Well, what happens when you don't respect your partner?
Yeah.
Because they're not showing up the way they used to,
Yeah.
or they've lost your respect, broken agreements, maybe betrayal, maybe whatever it is. How do you get it back? Originally thought, this is before I did all of this research, that, man, once you lose respect, like it's very, very difficult to bring it back. And it's really incumbent on the other person to earn your respect.
Yeah.
What if, just consider the possibility that that's actually backwards. Yes, they can do things to earn respect. Yes, there's a proven framework for how to grow trust, because ultimately the foundation of respect is trust.
Yeah.
But how do you start it in yourself first? And there is a great practice for doing this where you can actually generate and restore the respect you have for your partner. I'll give you this process and then I'll give you a quick example of it. So this is called the appreciation practice. And it's to recognize that nothing's black or white. We're all very, very
Right.
complicated and dynamic human beings. So it's not like someone 100% deserves no respect or vice versa. So there are things that you can admire and appreciate and respect about your partner, even if there's a lot that you don't. And so in the beginning, if you want to restore respect, because he feels it, your man feels it, your man's going to be like, oh, she doesn't respect me. And it will absolutely erode the connection in the relationship. So the way to bring it back is in the morning, think about 3 things that you admire about your partner and write them down. 3 things that you admire about them. There might be all kinds of stuff you don't, but 3 things that you do. Like,
Yes.
I admire their sense of humor. I admire how smart they are. I admire the way that they're willing to help
Yes.
at the end of the day, or how much they love me, or whatever it is. So 3 things that you admire every single morning. And then throughout the day, find 3 things that they have done well that day or that you appreciated, and then share with them before you go to bed 3 things that you appreciate, the appreciation practice. Now, if it's been a minute since you've communicated this way, chances are your husband's not going to trust you, because you're going to say what you appreciate. He's like, oh, like, what's coming? When's the other shoe going to drop? Like, when's the hammer coming? And you're like, no, I just want to share with you 3 things I appreciate about you. But when you fill that cup up, it will turn a downward spiral of disconnection. Slowly, it will reverse course and it will become this upward spiral, and you will not be able to help him from pouring back into you.
Yes.
Or stop him. You won't be able to stop him from connecting to you, pouring into you, and lifting you up. We were at a week-long retreat that we do one of the women, one of our clients was there with her husband. So she pulled me to the side and said, Matt, I've lost total respect for my husband. He's been unemployed for 11 months. He got fired. He was going to start his own job, start his own business. And so he's been sitting on his ass for 8 of those months. He met with some failure early on. And then now he's just like, he can't get himself going. And I've tried encouraging him. I've tried coaching him. I've tried getting him going, and he's lost all his confidence. And now I've lost respect for him.
Mm-hmm.
And like, we haven't had sex in months and we barely talk. And like, how do I bring this back? So I shared with her this whole practice.
Yeah.
I said, what do you admire about him? And then I said, tonight, before you go to bed, share with him 3 things that you appreciate about him. What she really was craving was just talking again. Like, he had completely shut down.
Yeah.
The next day, she finds me in the morning and she was like, eyes as big as saucers. And she was like, Matt, I don't know why that worked so well. That seems like so simple and so crazy, but you would not believe. She goes, my husband at first didn't fully trust, like you said, didn't trust what I was saying. But after I was sharing how much I appreciated what a great dad he was and the way he loves our kids, and I appreciate all the extra help he gives me getting groceries and all kinds of stuff. And as I was sharing what I appreciated about him and the way his mind solves problems, she said it was like the floodgates opened. And we haven't really talked in months, and I don't even know what he's thinking for his business, but he fully went into all these, like, he just started outpouring his fears and desires and plans and this and that. She was like, we feel more connected than we have in months. So that's a great path for connection.
Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. I mean, your brain is a heat-seeking missile, right? And you focus on what you want. If you focus on what you don't want, you're never going to get what you want. You focus on what you want. And that is I think that is the perfect spot to end. Unfortunately, I know everybody wants more, but I'm sure everybody wants to get cracking the man code. So tell them how they can get that.
We try to make it as easy as possible. So everyone can go to crackingthemancode.com. Mm-hmm. And there you will find what's great. You'll find links out for the book where you can buy it at your favorite bookstore because it's sold everywhere. But you'll also see a bunch of free bonuses, relationship assets that when you grab the book, I wanted to include these as well, just to up the value for everybody. And so you can grab your copy and then download all of those amazing assets that will help you in your relationship, whether you want to track somebody or take it even deeper.
That is wonderful. And lastly, I believe your Instagram, which I really enjoy, is at Matthew, not Matt. Is that correct?
You know what's interesting? I think it's Matthew Boggs.
Yes.
But what I can test it. It is MatthewBoggs.com. There you go. Yeah.
Yes. Matt's Instagram is very good, guys. So go there.
crackingthemancode.com.
And we'll have all the links right here. Yeah, actually, you can see him right now. So just go there if you want more of Matt, because this has been fantastic. I can't thank you enough for your time today, Matt.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me so much. It's always great to connect with you.
Always.
Thanks for listening to Brains or Us, brought to you by Centerpoint Research Institute. Want to try out our proprietary HoloSync brain-enhancing technology that's been changing lives for 35 years? Just visit myholosync.com/stream for a free 15-minute HoloSync session and feel the difference for yourself today. Until next time, be kind to your mind.